Welcome to the best gambling show on the internet. This is the home of the money pick. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Week 16 over-unders to bet. And listen, I'm going to be very clear. You guys know I'm going to pick every over-under every single week, and that's what we do here. But there's two I want you to focus on, and I'll make sure I mark those two when we get to them. Let's go reverse order here. Monday Night Football, Saints and Packers, over under 42. I'm going under. Listen, I don't think the Saints, I see like a 23-6 win for the Packers, maybe like a 30-6 win. When I saw snow, I just gasped for the Saints. Like, Rizzo's going to have those boys playing hard. I think Rattler will battle. He's obviously better than Haney or Hainer, whatever his name is. But there's only so much you can do. Kamara dealing with a groin injury. Green Bay's defense coming off a high after what they did to the Seahawks. I'm going under the 42. If there's snow, I think we got to get against the Saints in this. It's just not that interesting to talk about. Next game, we got the Tampa Bay Bucks. Baker at the Dallas Cowboys, over under 48.5. I'm going over. Last week, the Chargers Bucks was a money pick to go over. This isn't a money pick not because the Bucks. I've been saying the last 4 weeks, and it was tough for me to come to this realization. The Bucks are a top 5 offense, even without Godwin. And we all say it could have been what should have been. But we need to look at the reality, and they're a well-coached offense. They're balanced on offense. They can run the ball, and I think they can tear up this Cowboys defense that has been playing good football. But the reason why this isn't a money pick is because I'm not sure the Cowboys offense will be a dance partner. And even the Chargers offense had problems being a dance partner last week. I'm going over the 48.5. And the big reason why this isn't a money pick is because the Cowboys have had some success on offense because Dowdle's been phenomenal. You just can't run the ball against the Bucks. You can throw it on them, but is Cooper Rush that dude? I don't think so. Next game, we got the Jacksonville Jags at the Las Vegas Raiders, over under 40. I'm going under. Listen, but like I said, it's looking like Aiden O'Connell will play. This comes down to if Aiden O'Connell plays. I do like Mac Jones to put up some points, but I'm going under because I really trust this Raiders defense, and I've been critical of Antonio Pierce, but one thing we know about him, he can at least motivate a locker room, and he can at least motivate a defense. I don't see the Jags getting past the 17-point mark. That's why I'm going under. You should not be betting this game. I do like, if you want to bet this game, I would rather go Raiders -1, and I might actually be tempted to do that if we get Aiden O'Connell. Next game, we got the San Francisco 49ers at the Miami Dolphins, over under 44.5. Money. This is one I want you guys to focus on. Now, let me go into the reason and rationale behind this. I even saw in some books it was like 43.5. Either way, I like the over. Now, let's transport back into last year. What would be the total for this game? It'd be 49.5, 50.5, maybe even 51.5. I really don't like the San Francisco defense. I think they're terrible. I think they're on their last legs, and they also are littered with injuries. This Dolphins defense also has its issues. You can throw it against them, and I still trust Purdy, and I do think Purdy is getting healthier, and at least when you have Jawan Jennings and Kittle, you have something to rely on. So I think it's pretty easy to see the 49ers being able to get into the 20s here, even if it's low 20s. 44.5, 43.5 is a rather low over for both of these teams. Also, listen, Tua was absolutely terrible against the Texans, but I do think the Texans are a top 5 defense with a very good pass rush. Now, we know the Bosa brother will probably play, and he's an absolute animal, and he can completely change the landscape of this game. But I do think Tua will get the short passing going. I do think the Miami offensive line, even though they're banged up, will be able to deal with this front to a certain extent. Tua will be able to get the ball out of his hands quick. Listen, we're not going to see the downfield theatrics we used to see. It's kind of sad. I miss the old Miami Dolphins, but we will get ball movement. We will get points. It's Miami in December. We know the weather's not going to be an issue, and I don't think we should overthink this one. I know we can overthink it and analyze and say, oh, Lawson, the 49ers have been a disaster in the red zone this year. We're not going to go over if we're kicking fucking field goals. I get it. But sometimes you just have to trust Purdy versus Tua, two pretty good quarterbacks in this league. I'm going over the 44.5 or 43.5, depending on your book. Next game, we got the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. Over, under 46.5. I'm going over. Man, it's because when the Bills are involved, you have to go over. When you say Bills, when you say Josh Allen, I say over. I also think Drake May is dangerous. And I also do think this could be a flat spot. Now, you could say, listen, McDermott's going to have his boys buzzing. They just gave up 80 fucking points in the last 2 games. I don't know, man. Even if you get pressure on Drake May, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to bring him down. Also, Cole Strange coming back for one of the worst offensive lines in the league should help. I'm going over. The reason why you can't bet this is we don't know if the Patriots offensive line is going to be competitive and let the Patriots offense be a dance partner. If they're even semi-decent, if they give a 5.5 out of 10 performance, I could see this going over rather easily because we know one thing with the Bills, they're going to put up points. Next game, we got the Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. Over, under 43.5. Money, money, money. I'm going under, and this is another over-under I want you to focus on. The Dolphins 49ers was the first one. This Vikings at Seahawks is the second. Now, let's get into the elephant in the room, which is Geno Smith and Geno Smith's health going into this game. Yes, I am worried about Geno Smith playing in this game. I think he's going to play. The market says he's going to play. But this is a terrible matchup for both quarterbacks. Now, let me start why this is a terrible matchup for Geno Smith. What do the Vikings do? They stop the run, and then they put pressure on the quarterback. Seahawks can't run the ball. Seahawks can't really pass block. Geno Smith, when he's protected, has been a very good quarterback this year. When he hasn't been protected, we've seen reprehensible red zone interceptions and him taking 7, 8, 9 sacks a game, even though he has a pretty good sack avoidance like Sam Darnold has. On the other side of the ball, this is a Hawks defense that has been pretty damn good the last 6, 7 weeks, to my surprise. They've been good against the run, and they've been upping their pressures against the quarterback. Now, those of you who watch the player prop shows are rather familiar with my Sam Darnold takes. When do we bet the over on the Sam Darnold player props? When a team can't get pressure, a la Atlanta, a la Bears. That's when we go over. When do we go under? When a team can get pressure. And I think the Seahawks will get pressure and disrupt him. Also, look at Sam Darnold's home and road splits. They're not great. I'm not saying the 12th man is real anymore or that this is a tough home field advantage. Now let's get into the other layer of this game. Let's say Geno Smith gets hit, which he's going to get hit if he plays, whether he's healthy or not. Let's say he gets hit, or let's say he's a late scratch for Sam Hartman. or Jaron Hall while you're sitting pretty. And obviously Sam Hartman off a full week of practice will look better. But we know what the Hawks are going to try to do. They're going to try to run the ball more, and you just can't run the ball on the Minnesota Vikings. And he obviously can't pass, and he's a turnover machine. Remember when he led the Commanders, when he was with the Commanders and led the league in interceptions? So I feel like either way you bet this under, I feel like you're gold. I feel like this is the under of the week. And I guess it comes down to how you rate the Seattle defense. Do you look at the first 6 weeks, or do you look at week 6, week 7 on? I feel like when they got Robertson Harris, it was a turning point for them. And this defense has been more stout, and McDonald's scheme is rather complicated. Secondary is playing better. You do worry about going under in any Vikings game due to the explosiveness of this Vikings offense. Look at how good Addison is playing. Just a small example. But listen, man, I'm going under the 43.5. I feel like this is pretty safe, even if Geno plays. And the market's telling us he's going to play. Next game, we got the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts. Over, under 42.5. I'm going under. Man, what is there to say about this game? We're not getting Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson was absolutely terrible against the Broncos. I guess you have to go under, but, man, both of these defenses they haven't been playing good football, to say the least. I'm going under the 42.5. No fucking science. If you bet this over under, you need to call that 1-800 number. Next game, we got the New York Giants at the Atlanta Falcons. Over, under 42. This one was tough, man, because I'm actually really excited. Even though, I'm a Kirk Cousins enjoyer, I am very excited about Penix getting a chance. I think it's going to add a little bit of spark, a little bit of rejuvenation to a Falcons offense that desperately needed it. And I think his mobility will help because this offensive line isn't pass blocking at a high level. And I know you get the Giants, and the Giants' defense is terrible. The corners are actually okay, as crazy as that sounds. The rest of the Giants' defense is horrendous. They can't rush the passer. They can't stop the run. Dexter Lawrence isn't going to play. I mean, the linebacking core is one of the weakest in the league outside of the Rams. So, the list goes on. I can make a list for days. But I worry about the Giants offense. I know DeVito got in a little bit of a groove with Neighbors last week, and Neighbors could go off because Atlanta can't cover anyone. But I'm going under because I think Atlanta's going to run this ball. I think Atlanta gets to the 27, 30 point mark. I just do wonder if the Giants can cross 10. I'm going under. There isn't a lot of science. And actually, there is science because the Giants suck. Next game, we got the Carolina Panthers. They're at home. Cardinals on the road. Over, under 47. Listen, man. I'm going over the 47. I just feel like the first half over is more appealing. Listen, the Panthers offense moved the ball really good the first 2 drives against the Cowboys, and then they completely died. I worry about this Arizona team on the road, but one way this Arizona offense gets going is when they run the rock, and I think that's a good possibility against the Panthers. Outside of the Giants, and even when you factor in the Giants, is there a team worse in this league at stopping the run more than the Carolina Panthers? I don't think so, and that's even with Jadeveon Clowney playing the best ball of his career. I'm going over the 47, but I like the first half over as well. Next game, we got the Los Angeles Rams at the New York Jets. Rogers, ayahuasca. Did you guys see that documentary? Over, under 46.5. Money, 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 money. Obviously, when you bet games that involve the Jets, it's dangerous and you don't like doing it. I mean, it's not healthy for anyone. It really isn't. But I'm going over because I've been saying all year, I feel like this Jets offense is between a 10 and 14th best offense in the league. And I know that makes people's skin just squirm. Yes, they make a lot of mistakes, but they're good at moving the rock. And Rodgers is unironically playing his best football of the year, and he does look more mobile, which is obviously helping. And he's in transient, so we know he's playing for a contract and he's playing for something else other than the Jets. So we're seeing a boost in Rodgers' performance. And I do like this Rams defense. I really like their defensive line, but they're very young in the secondary, and I feel like Rodgers will be able to pick that apart. But the young secondary for the Rams is coming along rather well. They've won us money this year, just performing miracles like at the Seattle Seahawks. What I think is this linebacking core for the Rams is something Rodgers will exploit. Breece Hall, Allen underneath routes, and the Rams just shown they just can't deal with that. That's how you attack them. On the other side, this Jets defense is fucking terrible. And I know you talk about Reed. I know you talk about Sauce Gardner. I know you talk about Quentin, one of the better defensive tackles in the league. But they can't stop the run. They can't stop the pass. They make stupid mistakes. They commit a lot of penalties. Look at how many penalties Sauce Gardner and Reed have committed this year. I just think the Rams get to the 27-30 mark, and I think the Jets get into the 20s, and that's enough to push this over, make it a money pick. But like I said, there's two I want you focusing on. That's not one of them. Next game, Lions at Bears, over, under 48. Dan Campbell, I'm going over. And I know it's Goff in the cold, so you worry about that. But I do think the Bears play better at home, so they should be a dance partner. And even if you're worried about betting this because Goff in the cold, Bears have good players in the secondary, although they do seem to be mailing it in. The Lions offense is so versatile. They're the most balanced offense in the league. They can just run it on the Bears for 150, 200, 225 yards. Easy. I mean, the Bears can't stop the run against anyone. Look at what Aaron Jones did to him. So I'm going over the 48. Like, listen, I would not smug my nose if you bet this. I just want to stay away from this game because I do think maybe the Bears put in a performance. I have no science. Over the 48. Next game, we're going to Saturday. We got the Houston Texans at the Kansas City Chiefs. Over, under 41.5. I'm going under. I just don't know if the Chiefs' offensive line can block. And Patty already wasn't avoiding sacks going into this game. Now, he's got a high ankle sprain. How many sacks is he going to be able to avoid? And I know no one works harder than Mahomes on his body. No one is more of a gladiator than him. Like, honestly, like, dude is a gladiator. We got to give him credit. But fuck, bro, like he wasn't moving well 3 weeks ago. How is his movement going to be against a Texans team that will hit you, that will put hands on you? And I do wonder about that. And this is a Chiefs offense that has simply been average this year, and not everyone's dealt with the decline well. Everyone thinks there's going to be some sort of explosion. Like, I thought there was going to be an explosion against the Raiders. But that was the only game I really felt like, okay, Chiefs are going to explode here. They haven't exploded on offense, and I just don't see it coming. And the Texans offense is hit or miss. I know this Chiefs secondary really stinks, and Stroud can get in a groove, but I do worry about the interior pressures on Stroud. When you talk about Chris Jones and you talk about some of those interior offensive linemen for the Texans, it worries me, man. I'm going under the 41.5. Next game, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Baltimore Ravens. Over, under 45. I'm going over. This one is tough. Listen, man, I wish I had more to say about this game. Because these Steelers-Ravens games, they end up bringing us back to, like, early 80s football, which I like. There are some charming aspects to it, but you also you don't want to go under when you got the Ravens offense, which outside of the Bills, they're the most explosive offense in the league. Like, there's 5 elite offenses, and the Ravens are one of them, and they left a lot of points on the board in the first meeting. I'm going over the 45. No science. Pickens is back for Russ. Will Watt play? I don't know, but I do like the over 45. I think the Ravens can deal with them. Next game, we got the Cleveland Browns, DTR, at the Cincinnati Bengals, over, under 47. Money, money, money. Borderline. Listen, you don't like going under in Bengals games because this offense is very, very good. Joe Burrow is playing the best football of his career, in my opinion, and I know that's going to trigger people. But this Browns defense has been bad this year. They play a lot of man-to-man, yet they can't cover anyone. They're not getting a hell of a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Myles Garrett looks like he won't play. So Joe Burrow will have a clean pocket. I know it's a rivalry game. I know it's an AFC North game. But let's plan on the Bengals putting up points. But one thing I'm not planning on is DTR putting up points. And those of you who have been following this channel a long time, and maybe, more than a season, those of you who are on Patreon, I said on Patreon, God only knows how we won money betting DTR. DTR is absolutely terrible, and I don't like this benching of Jameis Winston, and I don't think the team's going to respond well to it. I'm going under the 47, make it a damn money pick. Actually, I'm taking out the borderline because it's just, I said borderline because, like I said, the Bengals are a great offense, and you don't like going under against great offenses in this league, but how much points is DTR going to put up? I know the Bengals defense is trash and they're tragic. They make mental mistakes too. It's not even the physical errors now, but I'm going under the 47. Make it a damn money pick. Last game, Thursday Night Football, Broncos at Chargers. I did a full video on this where I mentioned why I'm going under the 42, so let's just leave that there. You can go check out that video. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. The best gambling show on the internet. Let's get this money.